Hi friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Kelly. I'm going to be doing my December wrap-up today, and I had filmed it like I usually do, where I do little pieces of what I've just finished here and there throughout the second half of the month. This is my reading for the middle of December to the end, and something happened and none of them will upload. I don't know. So I'm redoing it today, and I'm going to try to be like my friend Chatty the Mad Chatter and do it all in one take, no editing. New Year's resolution, yay! So let's get started. The first thing I want to mention is that I read the whole Bible chronologically, and I finished it up at the end of December. Woohoo! I cannot recommend enough reading the Bible chronologically. It puts it into such better perspective in a lot of ways, and I just felt like it was my second year in a row to do that, and I'm doing it again this year. It's just my favorite way to read through the Bible. The next thing I'm going to mention is that we did an Advent reading as a family through the whole month of December, Jotham's Journey. Sorry, there's a little glare. And this was by Arnold. I think you say his name, Ytreeide. And if I'm saying that wrong and you know how to spell that name correctly, please correct me. But this was a fictional story about a little boy named Jotham, who is a shepherd from Jericho, and his family and him get separated. And interwoven in this fictional story is some truth about the Christmas story and some nice lessons. I definitely was entertained by it. I felt like it was good lessons for my kids. I would say that if you have young ones, it may not be the best one. There was some violence, and I was a little bit surprised by the violence. But yes, I really enjoyed it and do recommend, but if your kids are sensitive or young, it may not be the best one to do. Next, we read The Angel Tree, which is by Daphne and Benedis-Grab, and this was so touching, so touching. It's about children who are trying to find out who the benefactor or benefactress is of this angel tree in town. People put wishes up on the tree and they come true. And it was just so heartwarming. Like, there's a little girl who's blind, whose dog is ill, and she wants her dog to get well, but her dad's out of a job. And so there's like stories like that that are just so touching, heartfelt. Like, there's a kid whose mom is, in the Marines, and he just wants to spend Christmas with her. Just this touching. The way it wraps up and who it is unexpected. And I think this is an amazing middle grade read to have with the whole family. And the other thing that we did as a whole family is we listened to A Christmas Carol, which is something that I either read with my eyeballs or listen to every year. We listened to the Jim Dale audiobook version, who is also the voice of the Harry Potter books. And Charles Dickens just does such a great job of characterizing that time and the struggle of being poor, and just how people can change. I mean, that is such an amazing message of A Christmas Carol. Scrooge changes, and he always keeps Christmas well after that. And I think if you haven't read Dickens and you're intimidated, it's a good one to start with because you already know the story. The movie versions are pretty much the same as the book, and so you already know the story. I mean, not the same. Of course, there are differences. I mean, the Muppet version is not the exact same, and the Mickey Mouse version not the exact same. They use a lot of the same dialogue. So give it a try. Another listen that I did was a Hercule Poirot Agatha Christie, and it was The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding. And this one actually surprised me a little bit with the ending, but it was, Hercule Poirot ends up at an English countryside, and of course there's something to do with the Christmas pudding and the mystery, and someone appears to die. And you'll just have to read it if you want to know. But it was amusing. I was actually surprised a little bit by the ending. So I didn't think that was going to be the case. And I thought I knew what was going on, but it surprised me. All right, buddy reads that I did in the month of December that just were amazing. My girl Christie at Christie's Purple Library for my birthday gifted me this book, God Rest Ye Royal Gentlemen by Rhys Bowen. And this was my first complete Rhys Bowen read, and I am a fan now. She had a way of mixing historical fiction in with this mystery that's slightly more than a cozy mystery. There are so many cozy vibes, but the the murder mystery goes a little bit darker than your typical cozy mystery. It's about a girl named Georgiana. She's actually the great-granddaughter of Queen Victoria, and her whole family ends up going to this aunt of her husband's who is a friend of the Queen, and it's during the time of the Prince David and Mrs. Simpson thing going on here, where Mrs. Simpson is still married, but they're dating, and so there is, of course, a murder mystery, and you just have to read it next Christmas if you don't want to read off season, because it is so good, and it was just such a lovely time with Christie. I just love her so much. Another girl I just love so much is book lover Amanda. We read The Bridge together by Karen Kingsbury. It's about this couple who they've had so much hardship, and they start this bookstore to try to bless others, and then disaster after disaster strikes them, and they're in such a horrible position, but they have such faith in God and such love for each other, and people come and rally around them. There is a side romance as part of this story, people that met at their bookstore, The Bridge, who I didn't love their love story that much because it used the miscommunication trope a little bit. And this was a Christian fiction romance book, and so it was kind of strange because we weren't clear if one of the characters was a Christian, but it's like a book that's trying to kind of speak well of Christian romance, and we weren't sure if one of the characters in this was actually a Christian too. So wouldn't have bothered me if it wasn't a Christian romance at all. But with this, you weren't really sure if one of the characters was an atheist or not, really. So did anybody else get that impression, or was that just me? I think Amanda actually said something about that too. Let me know what you think about that. But yeah, I think The Bridge was a great book. The couple, that started The Bridge, such a great relationship. And all the other books that I had read, I got from the library, and I had to take them back. But when I originally filmed it, I had them. The Ghost of Greenglass House by Kate Milford. This was a beautiful book about the second book in the series. It's about a boy named Milo, and what I loved about it is that this is a mystery and there are twists, but it also really talked about his adoption and how he's conflicted because, people assume, oh, this boy, he can speak Chinese and things like that. They make assumptions about him as a Chinese kid, but he loves his, white Caucasian parents, and he doesn't want to hurt their feelings. But in the midst of this, we have like a wonderful mystery, and I can't tell you too much without ruining the first book, but it is a smuggler's inn that his parents run. The only thing I don't like about that is some of the coolest characters are thieves, and this is a middle grade fiction book, so just read it and talk to your kids about it. Say, I know these characters are kind of cool, but we don't want to be thieves. Being thieves is wrong. Okay? All right, so the next few books I read were I was recommended an author by Paperbacks and Ponytails. That's Katie's channel. She recommended Melody Carlson as a great Christmas time author, and she was absolutely right. I read Angels in the Snow by her, which is a story about a lady that's had just terrible loss in her life, and she goes out into a cabin, and just the series of events leads her to being very inspired to do amazing art. And I think that this was just such a touching book about grief and loss, and just where we can find inspiration, and just how that can come from little gifts from God. Another one I read by her is No Room at the Inn, which is a little play on Mary and Joseph having no room at the inn. Pastor and his wife run this inn. They usually don't take anybody around Christmas time because their family comes home. No family was coming this year, and they're sad. So they decide to welcome people in and show them love. And there are some quirky characters here. And then a couple ends up getting broken down basically in their bus outside the inn that are expecting a baby, and they don't have much, and so they end up helping them. The most annoying character in the story is one of the most interesting, and we are trying to figure out what is going on with her. I recommend it. Predictable book, but I crave that type of stuff around Christmas time, and maybe you do too. A sweet book. And then the last one by Melody Carlson was Christmas Joyride, which Katie had highly recommended. It was so much fun. It's about a lady named Joy. She is going to be getting rid of her house because she's getting older. Her boys want her closer, so she's going to be driving to Arizona, and she decides to do it in an RV. She's 80-something years old. She decorates it all up, and then she has this sweet neighbor who is going through a hard time, had a divorce, lost her job, is going to have her house foreclosed. She gets her to come along, and they just spread joy all the way there. Her name is Joy, and she's spreading joy. So again, a little bit predictable, but again, what I craved, and it had so much joy and fun in the story. All right, the last one I read was Her Christmas Redemption by Toni Shiloh. This was my first Toni Shiloh read, and I really enjoyed it because I think that it was a good Christian fiction where the characters had natural dialogue. Sometimes it's hard to write natural dialogue when some of these hard issues are talked about, and some of the more spiritual stories. And I think she did a great job. I will read her again. It's about a lady who has a shady recent past. She moves to a new town to get away from this shady past, and she has an amazing experience with the people in this town. And her landlord is someone that she may or may not want to have a relationship with someday. She's trying to be careful, and so is he, because he's had a lot to deal with. And it just, I like I said, the dialogue was natural in the story, and it dealt with some hard issues. All right, guys, I hope you had a great December. I hope you're having a wonderful January so far, and read a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.